Hello, friends. Welcome back to another edition of What's Going On, featuring Nate Brown Jr., myself, Ryan Verneuille, and the MLB legend, Greg Vaughn. And unfortunately, Nate is not here. And I look down at those MLB standings and I see that 9-game losing streak. I think about how the Knicks are awfully suspect. I know some people are projecting them to maybe even win the finals somehow. I don't know what they're smoking. But I sit here with the great Greg Vaughn, and there's just so many questions to ask as we move forward with today's show. I'm very excited about Major League Baseball this year, Greg. I don't know if I've ever seen the standings look so even. It seems like we've got a whole bunch of near 500 teams minus the Dodgers. What are your thoughts? Is that kind of a surprise to you this year?
No, I just think when you come out of you come out of spring training, I think the pitchers always have the edge. You know what I mean? I just think it's going to take a while for the offenses to get going a little bit. But you see the teams that are doing well are manufacturing runs. They're playing small ball at times. They're moving runners and laying down bunts. And it's apparent that teams don't really practice that anymore because as soon as a guy lays down the bunt, the ball's getting thrown all over the place. Looks like a circus, right? So I think they're just trying to get back to fundamental baseball, not relying on a 3-run home run. I watched Tampa the other day lay down 4 or 5 sacrifice bunts and basically came back to win a game. You know what I mean? Just on sacrifice bunts. So, with that being said, I think, the powers are going to be the powers. I think the Cubs are going to be back up there. I think, the Braves, as long as Acuna can stay healthy, will be at the top. The Mets, very disappointing, and I think that's why Nate called in sick today. You know what I mean? He didn't want to hear about this 9-game losing streak, and
Yeah.
he's probably really nervous too because the Knicks are getting ready to play also. So, Nate's he has a little anxiety going right now.
I'm thinking the same thing. That can definitely it. Now, you mentioned that these teams are playing good baseball. The Dodgers, they're not one of they all play great baseball, but they do rely on some home run hitters. They do rely on spending a lot of money. And I just wonder, can any team sustain? Yeah, they might be able to play good baseball and make it to the big dance like the Blue Jays did. That was an overall great hitting team. You mentioned these sacrifice bunts, but is that really going to win a World Series over these powerhouses, right? I mean, I look at some of these, like the past winners of the World Series, and it's just they do have those superstars and bona fide guys from the Dodgers, even the Rangers. The year the Rangers won, they had some mashers. The Astros, obviously, I mean, even their second baseman, you can rely on for a 3-run home run. So, I mean, do you think that there's a ceiling to how far these teams are going to go, or do you think it's going to end up being the Dodgers or the Yankees or one of these other powerhouses that still has an Aaron Judge or a Shohei Ohtani that's going to take it all the way this year?
Well, I mean, how can you count out the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers have basically an 8-man starting rotation. They rest guys. They rest guys every other week. To keep them fresh. Uh, I mean, they're not even hitting on all cylinders on offense yet. So I think the Dodgers are going to be there. You know, the the question is who's going to be there with them.
Yeah.
Who's going to make a run. As far as the American League, you have to count on the Yankees. I hate saying that because I know you're, you know, diehard Yankee fan, pinstripes forever. But as you can see, man, who knows? Look at the A's. The A's are in first place right now. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. I don't think you panic in the first month, right? You
Yeah.
just you just sort of get out there and just try to stay afloat. You can't win it in the first month, but you can dig yourself a hole where you can't get out of it also. So I think the Mets got to get it going sooner than later. I think with that pitching staff and the offense that the Pirates have, you know, acquired over the offseason and calling up the young kid and Cruz in center, swinging a bat like he did, when he first came up. I think it's exciting to see teams that haven't been there play well. You have the Reds. I'm still not sold on the Giants hiring a college coach to coach men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that. You have guys that you can scare into running and you know, scare them and with emotions every single day. But you're talking about grown men. They don't respond that way. The guys. Oh, I'm gonna shake up the lineup today. I'm gonna shake up the lineup tomorrow. You lose if you lose the locker room, man. It's gonna be a long year.
Yeah. And that's my next question, actually. You mentioned this Mets 9-game losing streak. Do you think Mendoza's lost the locker room? Because, they fired guys around him in the offseason, and in New York, and especially the Mets, they're known to just fire you even if you have a good season. Look what they did to, recently to their legendary head coach that had just come in. Buck just wins, manager of the year, gets fired immediately afterwards. So I wonder if Mendoza's on the hot seat. I mean, how long? It's you always say this. It's up to the players to play good, but at some point there's got to be some type of accountability. And I don't know if Mendoza has the pedigree really to last much longer. How long do you think he's got before he is on the hot seat?
Well, I think it's hard. I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I think when you have a guy, he's been around the game a long time, right? He's been in, the Yankees organization. He's
He
been
was our
he's
guy.
been in base. He's been in baseball, but sometimes the guys that didn't play, they don't realize how hard it is to sustain and play at that level every single day. And sometimes you got to put your arm around a guy and get him going that way. Sometimes you got to put your foot in the guy's ass, sometimes get him going that way. Sometimes you have to coach your best player hard so, the other guys don't think you're being biased to him. You hear a lot of different rumors. You hear about the locker room, you hear about Soto and, the shorts, Lindor not getting along. You hear about, you know, they're mad because they didn't want to give one of them the C. They wanted a captain instead of just going out and win games. I mean, what our priorities are to play baseball and win games. All the other stuff is that doesn't really matter, right? You play for the name on the front, then the back will take care of itself. And and I used to tell people this all the time, hitting third, fourth, and fifth. I could hit 30 solo home runs and have 30 RBIs, but it takes a team. The guys getting on in front of me, the guys behind me. Wally Joyner, man, one of my favorite teammates of all time. He said, if everybody, I remember one time in San Diego, he said, if everyone just tries to get on base twice, he didn't say get 2 hits. Everyone goes out there and try to get on base twice. That means working a walk, moving a runner, maybe getting a hit and a walk, maybe 2 walks. We'll take our chances. We'll take our chances on outscoring the other team. Not once did he say, put the emphasis on an individual or himself, or, we didn't lead the conversation with I. How about if we all try to get on base twice? We all try to do certain things, and then we'll take our chances, right? I think with the money that's being thrown around, I think that adds a lot of pressure to these guys, right? And then social media, guys, fans can interact and get in people's inboxes and do things rather easily right now, whereas before, we just got to hear the booze.
I thought they got rid of all these locker room issues when they shipped away, or not to say shipped away, but didn't sign Alonso, much to the disdain of the Mets fans. When they
That's right, but that speaks to what you're just saying. He took, he's established, he's beloved there, he's loved there. He basically was the C on that team,
Yeah,
and he went for higher ground, right? He got out of there because he could probably see the writing on the wall. And anytime players can get hitting coaches fired and batting coaches and infield coaches and stuff like that, the foundation's not that good.
definitely. Definitely does not make sense to run an organization that way. Now, what gets me, I don't want to put Nate on the spot. I wish he was here right now, but how quickly people have turned on Francisco Lindor. I understand he hasn't had a good start of the season, but he never does. But one thing he always consistently does is have these heroic moments. And as a Mets fan, when you're not used to many heroic moments, how do you turn on your guy so fast?
Well, because I mean, that's New York fans, right? They're passionate, they love hard, they hate hard, they get mad. I mean, they, all the all the things, that's what they are. That's what makes them great. What makes the New York and East Coast fans some of the best in the world because you know you can have a 3-year-old getting cussing you out in the outfield, and you can have a 90-year-old guy cussing you out in the outfield because they're passionate and they care, right? So I think as tough as it is to play and be part of those teams, I mean, it's all the stuff that comes with it, also, right? You have to be able to endure the good times and the bad times. And Lindor, hey, he's a special player. He's a great player. What's scary is before the slow starts never affected his defense. Now it's affecting his defense. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the tough part. And as a player, even when we're going bad, and Dave Winfield, I love to death. He got me and pulled me aside as a rookie and told me some things about trying to be a pro and how to be a pro. And like I said, my village was huge. And he said, "Hey, man, even when you're 0 for 4 or 0 for 34, you got to walk up there like you're 4 for 4. You cannot, you know, hang your head and give bad body language." And I think, we always see Lindor. He's always smiling, always trying to pick up the guys, but inside he's probably getting ate alive. You know what I mean? Because that's what happens inside. Man, you feel like you're dying inside. You want it so bad, you feel like you're doing all the things, and it's just not working out. And he still has to perform. But with that being said, that's what makes baseball beautiful. It's a beautiful game. It's the only game based on failure. And Lindor will be off. He'll be fine when it's said and done. And you can't forget Soto's been out too, and that's a huge part.
Yeah, for sure. That changes just the chemistry and everything else over there. And who knows what the guy's going through behind the scenes? You Mets fans are just the worst. This comes from a Yankees fan. Let
Oh,
that sink in.
no, this is coming from a Yankee fan. Last
Hey,
week,
you don't see me throwing the boys under the bus. Maybe a
oh
little
yeah,
Ryan
last week.
McMahon, which you could call me out because I did call Ryan McMahon out last week, and we saw what happened last night. And this is a perfect time. We have to go to a quick break. We love our sponsors. The ones that if you do want to sponsor, contact us. We need more friends here in Rochester. You're listening to What's Going On. Greg Vaughn, Ryan Verneuille, and Nate Brown Jr. is here in spirit, as you can tell. We're going to be talking to Nate as though he's here when we come back. Don't go nowhere. And we are back. This is What's Going On. Ryan Verneuille and Greg Vaughn here on Fox Sports Rochester. Greg is out in Las Vegas. I am in the heart of the Hamptons, and I'm very close to where I was last night, Greg, as I lifted off my feet cheering at the unthinkable odds that went down in front of me. A great pinch hit decision. This happens sometimes. Aaron Boone does put in a clutch player, and a pinch hit happens. This was not one of those times I thought it was going to happen. Ryan McMahon comes out and he hits a game-winning home run. And all of us Yankee fans that sat there, much like Met fans, talking smack about the lousy start that he's had, well, we ate our words. So we want to give a big shout out to Ryan McMahon. He's had just a horrible season, but he really is a great defender. And he had a very clutch. He had his Yankee moment last night in Yankee Stadium against the Kansas City Royals, who is a team that I do fear in the postseason, a team that I do see a lot of great young talent. And my Italian counterpart, Vinny Pasquantino over there, I know he had some great hits last night. So that being said, Greg, do I deserve a good talking to after being so against poor Ryan McMahon and after the way he came forward last night?
Well, on an earlier segment, you just stated how Met fans give up on their guys so early. I mean, I told you it's
On a
just a New York
hero,
thing. I don't
Greg.
think it's.
On a
I,
hero. Time out. Now, Lindor is a damn hero. Now, if McMahon had some walk-off home runs and epic moments, miracle moments, I wouldn't be booing Ryan
well,
McMahon. He
well,
has earned it.
why are we even talking about the kid then? I mean, he's a big league ball player, and when they brought him over, you know, Gold Glove defense, and some left-handed pop, right? You would
True.
think that's what they brought him over for. It just hasn't worked out offensively. He's still playing good defense, but when you're in and out, and he has that guy, taking at bats from him right now, so he's not getting to play every single day, so that makes it a little tough. But once again, we're going to talk about the New York thing. The New York thing is, hey, it's what have you done for me today? Not yesterday, not tonight. What have you done for me today? And that's just how you guys roll, man. If you done good today, we love you. If you don't, shoot, you remember when Aaron Judge got off to that slow start, and I was talking to you and Nate, and I was like, he's going to be fine. I mean, the man almost hit 70 home runs, and you guys were ready to throw. You were ready to throw in the towel. He's getting booed. You know what I mean?
Oh, look, yeah, you're right. They're the bleacher creatures because they're completely hammered and they're mostly despicable people. All right, let's be honest, Greg. New York's not an easy place to live. It's a vile city at times. And that's what leads people to this state of mind where it's like, look, we have to go through hell, especially back in the day. You look at how they built the buildings, they had no safety, no protection, and you want us to just cheer for you as you make millions of dollars. And they might not have made them back when they were building those buildings and you see the kids swinging on pieces of metal, but it's a tough city to live in, Greg. They're going through it every day. So when you see Francisco Lindor making all that money and he smiles as he strikes out, it kind of upsets the people that are living in the city, living through hell.
No, perception, but I understand why he's doing it. He's doing it because he doesn't want to give the persona that that he's struggling. He has the bad body language, and being a leader. If you see one of your leaders struggling, then what's that say to the morale of the rest of the team? So, with that being said, I think Lindor is trying to handle it as best as he can. Nobody wants to get off to a slow start, but when you're the guy or one of the guys, and you're not playing well and the team's doing bad, you got to wear it.
True. And here I am already flipping on Lindor. That's that New York in me. I started out defending him. Now here we are a few minutes later, and I'm throwing him right under the bus. But that being said, the Yankees, it's not the June swoon. I feel us coming out of it. I know there's a lot of Yankees fans listening out there. I do think something needs to be done about the bullpen. You got to see Doval on the San Francisco Giants. What are your thoughts? Do you think he could finally get it together? Because we got him to be a shutdown bullpen guy, setup guy, someone that could maybe even close games. Do you think that we're going to see him meet his potential?
Yeah, I do too. It's an adjustment period too. Remember what we talked about? You got to have that grace period. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not just getting traded to any team. It's he got traded to the Yankees, right? So, you're coming into New York, and like I said, these fans know on day one who you are. You went from someone that was relatively unknown to everybody knows who you are now. You know what I mean? And they expect you to do your part. And like I said, man, it's just part of the learning curve. It's part of the adjustment period, and it's part of baseball.
Yeah.
It's all inevitable that these are the things that we have to go through. These are the things that which makes baseball players special because, hey, man, it is a marathon. It is
Yeah.
a long, the longest roller coaster ride you can ever be on. You know what I mean? Is playing MLB baseball,
Yeah.
and then there are the ups and the downs. And unfortunately, fans don't have that patience. So, you just gotta, you know, uh, one of my models was, and no disrespect to the fans, because we want everyone to love us, right? We're only human, but reality is they're not. So at some point, you just have to say "eff it" and play for those men in the locker room. And as long as they have your respect, that's all that matters, right? It doesn't matter if the guy's yelling at me and you know row C, seat 17. You know what I mean? But why am I going to let that guy determine my career. When you start letting outside noise in, then the roller coaster rides become a little bit more, little bit more scary. You know what I
You
mean? It's
weren't
like
even
going.
taking crap from the owners when you were a player. So I just wonder what a prime Greg Vaughn would have been like on X. I mean, what do you think? Would you have been outspoken? Like how would you think you have handled the access to these people trolling, or would it just rolled off your shoulder?
Well, like I said, another guy that was very influential in my career was Robin Yount, and early on, him, Don Baylor, rest in peace, all those guys when I first came up, they don't read the stats and don't read the paper. That once again, that's outside noise, right? Don't
Yeah.
get caught up. You know how well you're playing, and it's usually not well enough. So what do you need to read the stats for? Second,
Yeah.
once again, it's reporters giving they have a job to do. They're giving their opinion, and sometimes they like you, and the opinion can be a little soft when you're in different moments, and sometimes they hate you, and they can drag you through the mud and say things that make you want to go berserk. So if you just eliminate it and don't read it, then you don't have it. I think I would have had to been a guy, probably a little different than Tatis, who's on there a lot. I would have to be a guy that probably didn't have any, because you're going to have guys that
Mm.
hate you. You're going to have people saying things about your family. I mean, it'll be a lot of wasted energy, I think.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even like you'd play to make more money than any type of endorsement or crazy things that you can say or companies you could represent within that. On a guy who's very, outspoken. There's just so many outspoken guys. I kind of do enjoy it if they do
Give me
speak
one.
their
Who's
mind.
outspoken? Who's
Like,
outspoken? Give me one.
okay, my man Cam Schlittler. He adds to the legend of Cam Schlittler because after he's done punching out Red Sox, he's up on Twitter making fun of his hometown.
Yeah, and that's fine too. But you got to remember, this kid has had a lot of success rather quickly. What happens? This is my thing. What happens when He's not punching out 12, 13, 14, and he's giving up 12, 13, 14. How
Yeah.
quick is he going to be to go, to that X and start, start tweeting out, because those Boston fans and all those people that he's interacting with, oh, they're gonna have something to say.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna have
No,
something to say.
I'm not sure we're going to see that day, at least for a
Oh,
long
man,
time.
I tell
Not
you
for a
what,
long
everyone sees it.
They do.
Everyone
Everyone
sees it.
sees it. Even the other
Garrett
day,
Cole seen it.
yeah.
Rendon, speaking of those two, they're close to rehab starts and on their way back.
Yeah.
Your boy Volpe's close, but I don't know, man. I mean, where do you go from there? What do you do with Volpe when he comes back? Do you give
Yeah.
him the shortstop job back,
I
or do
would
you
think
keep
so.
him?
Yeah, I would think so. I think that there's an insurance policy with George Lombard Jr. Even if they bring Lombard to play third base this year, if they do, I hate to say this after he just hits a home run and that nature, but if they do DFA, I know you hate when we talk smack about the players, Greg, but if they DFA Ryan McMahon, we have an insurance policy in George Lombard Jr. If something
No,
happens
no,
to
no.
Volpe, he comes
These
back.
are facts, though. This is
Yeah,
reality. It's not talking smack
yeah,
about the players. It's, hey,
yeah,
you get paid to do a job. If you don't do a job, unfortunately, you get sent down or you get released, and hopefully you keep it moving. But that's a hard reality, right? So, it's not talking smack about the players. It's, as a player, you just have to learn that this comes with it. All
yeah,
this, when you sign that contract, you get what you get. You get people's harsh opinions, you get fans yelling at you, you get the up and downs, you get the roller coaster rides, you get the stomach ache, you get the butterflies, and then also it's part of your journey. And I was always taught to enjoy the journey, just not the results.
yeah, exactly. And especially, that absolutely is great advice. And Ahmed Rosario is just nasty too. Another guy that they have to worry about. My man is coming out here, probably our second or third most consistent hitter on the Yankees
That's
this
what I'm
season.
saying. To me, that's your third baseman, or you keep him at,
Yeah.
or you put him at short, whatever. But he doesn't come out of the lineup to me.
No, he's
He
just
has to
so what
play.
a great yeah,
I
shouts to
mean,
the
but he's a
double.
pro. You know what you're getting. You know what you're getting every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think about it. I mean, how many games did he win the other? I mean, the first game against the Angels, 2 home runs, I think.
Yeah.
Well, what about that slugfest? What about that heavyweight fight between Judge and Trout?
Oh,
That was an
so
old
epic,
fashioned
man.
heavyweight fight.
Hall of
Yeah.
Fame matches. And just yeah, I mean to see that game live at Yankee Stadium, that would have been one for the records. They each hit 2 home runs. And how about Peraza coming back to New York and kicking our asses? We're gonna get back to that, and then we're gonna get right into the New York Knicks. Nate's not here to defend them, but it's almost time. We're so close. We're inching in on playoff basketball, but we do have to talk about that Hall of Fame matchup because I don't know how I went this whole time without asking you. We need another MLB legendary home run hitter's opinion about what we just saw go down at Yankee Stadium. Greg Vaughn, Ryan Verneuille in studio. This is what's going on. And we're going to tell you what's going on when we come back. Don't go nowhere. And we are back. This is what's going on. Greg Vaughn and Ryan Verneuille here in studio. And before we get into NBA playoff basketball, we just want to touch up a little bit on what we saw this past week at Yankee Stadium. Perhaps one of the greatest games in baseball history. Of course, if you're a Yankees fan, I mean, wow, just home runs from Aaron Judge, home runs from Mike Trout, and of course, Trent Grisham earning his amazing payday that he got this year with some clutch home runs as well. Multiple home runs. Trent Grisham with another Yankee moment. So it ended really well for Yankees fans, but man, just an overall great game. Greg, where do you rank it on the scope of games that you've seen? How legendary was it? Is it just the New York media making it up to be so amazing?
No, I think it was one of those games that, it was like, I don't want to give it the magnitude of what Otani did last year, striking out 12 and hitting 3 home runs.
Yeah,
But these were magical moments. People don't realize how good Mike Trout was, right? We all get to see Aaron Judge day in and day out. Mike Trout over the last few years, hasn't been Mike Trout because, poor guy gets injured, not hurt, injured. And he plays through uh being hurt and sore. But when you're injured, it's totally different. When you're breaking bones and you're doing this. I mean, you think about it 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, right before the series, he got hit by a pitch and we thought that was a broken bone. But somehow he's managed it, he managed it and he came out and hit 5 home runs at Yankee Stadium. And if there's ever a stage and a platform, being a local kid from Jersey, you know what I mean? You know, I think even if you asked him, I think it would probably be more special hitting it there than even in Philly, right? Having 5 home runs and where he's from. So,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
I thought he
I
was
don't
gonna
know
be a
how.
Yankee, frankly. I think it's about everybody, Greg. Thought you were gonna
What'd
be
you
a Yankee.
say?
I thought he was gonna be a Yankee. I thought everyone was gonna be a Yankee. But I really thought, like you said, like a guy from the local area. I really thought Trout was gonna be paired up at some point in history with Aaron Judge. And it's sad. I mean, you talk about a guy that was so good and nobody paid attention to him. He was in the other LA team, and they just never the guy's never been in the playoffs. How much of a
What
travesty is it?
well, you know what? I think, if you weren't a diehard baseball fan, you didn't know who he was because he was the best player in the game for a long time. So we
Years.
we knew who he was. But when you play out west, it's sort of long. It goes along the lines of Tony Gwynn playing. You don't realize how special he really was, right? Playing in San Diego because when the games came on, it was already 10 o'clock. You know, you already watched the Yankee game, the Met game, the Boston game. You know what I mean? The Philly game. You know, the East Coast basically was shut off. You know what I mean? They didn't care about West Coast players unless you're specifically a diehard, Tony Gwynn or Mike Trout fan. So, I mean, being a baseball player, I mean, but he's a better person too, man. Mike Trout is just one of those guys. You know what I
The
mean?
man.
He is, he's, and that's what makes it special. It's like Aaron Judge. He's just one of those guys. They're
Yeah.
not dicks. They're not a-holes. They, they're just the dude, and what makes
Yeah.
him even more special is they, they treat you like you're the dude too. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, it's it was just for me. I was happy for him because where he's been through the last few or four, 3 or 4 years, to be able to get back to this point, and just to see how athletic and strong he is, man. And he went toe to toe with the big guy.
Yeah.
He went toe to toe, and he got the last. He got the last. What do you say? The counterpunch, with the number 5 home run,
They
with
won.
the
I
fifth
mean,
home
they
run.
won the series. Peraza with the series that he had, but yeah, just you know what it was. I remember even thinking back when he was in his glory days, and they'd always talk about this. No, if you were to see Mike Trout on the streets when he was the prime Mike Trout, was probably the best in baseball for 5 years. You would never know who he was because he was just such a nice guy, not cocky, not outspoken. I'm pretty sure he didn't even do social media, and that was like a talking point. He was barely on there. And yeah, I mean, and just honestly, the mishandling of having a guy of that caliber, and then you bring in the greatest player, arguably of all time, to play alongside of him, and somehow they still don't make the playoffs. I don't know. I mean, just as a fan, I know I'll never understand the intricacies of playing Greg, but it just seems like a travesty at the part. Just to not have that guy on the big stage, very very sad. But
Well,
speaking
I
of
don't think it's a I don't think it's a travesty. I think, for some reason, a lot of people, whether it's Stephen A, whether it's, the guys at the MLB network or yourself or myself, I the guy is loyal to where he's comfortable playing in LA. He likes being there. And, he could have went to Philly. He could have went home, right? He
yeah,
never tried to do that either. He for some reason, you look at Robin Yount, same way. He could have left. He could have did no, he wanted to win a chip and do the things that have never been done in Milwaukee. And I think Mike Trout wants to be that guy that does the same thing in Anaheim. He wants everyone to go back and say, he would have won so many more chips if he would have left, or he would have won one by now. But if he wins one, he's etched his place in history, right? Because
I
he's
mean, he's the
taken
best angel in history, right? I
yeah,
think
but
he's
he's
got to be the
also
best.
yeah. But if they win a chip, then he's the only man that's ever done that too. So
Yes, that is very
not
very
only
true.
the best, but you don't want to be like Dan Marino, one of the best quarterbacks all time, but then they say he's never won the big one. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
very true. Yeah.
so it's just one of
But
those
that's a
things
lot
where
more, being a quarterback that doesn't win a Super Bowl is a lot worse than an MLB legend that doesn't win a World Series. It's so much more dependent on so much else. And I
I
get
don't
that
know.
there's a lot with the defense and there's a whole another element of the game that you have no control over. But usually the best quarterbacks, except for Marino, we could probably name the best of all time. Like of all the top 10 quarterbacks of all time, most of them have a Super Bowl, right? Except for Dan Marino.
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly's other way. That's right. So Jim Kelly, Dan Marino.
You're in the backyard.
Yeah.
You're in the people's backyard right now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we can talk about right now Josh Allen, Lamar.
Yeah,
You can talk about
exactly.
those two.
They will definitely go down. Well, hopefully it's not over yet, especially for Josh Allen. There's still that chance of hope. So I want to also say Rest in peace to Garrett Anderson.
Yeah, hey man, that was sad news I got yesterday. You know what I mean? It's one of the most. I mean, once again, another good guy. You know what I mean?
Another great angel, too. Another legendary
Great,
angel.
great angel, underrated, very underrated player. I mean, just a doubles machine, and played great
Yeah.
defense. And just a pro, just going about his business. I never did see. I just heard a medical emergency. Did they state how or what?
I'm not sure if they stated how or what, but yeah, that's he was just another figure of my childhood and a great outfielder and a Yankee killer. Man, he'd beat the hell out of us every time.
The dude, he beat everyone. I'm telling you, he was a professional
Yeah.
hitter.
Oh
You
yeah.
know what I mean? He's double machine. You know what I mean? And I know he was doing Angels broadcasting, and I just don't know what happened. He was just. But once again, like I said, man, just heartfelt prayers go out to him and his family, and all the Angel Nation out there. You know what I mean? He is. He was, like I said. I know I keep repeating myself, but he was really a good guy.
I mean, it seemed like it, and I hate to keep repeating myself, but I still think that's a travesty of an organization. Where they did. And I'm going to point to one more thing, Greg. I don't know if you saw this viral video. I'll send it to you if you haven't. But it was Mike Trout working out years ago. And they were doing these weird workouts where they'd put all this weight on his back and they just have him run as fast as he could. And it looked like it looked like, wow, like no wonder this guy's got back problems. Just seemed like mishandling. I'm going to send this video. You're going to be blown away. Anyway, that's always what I think
Well,
of, like, crazy.
well, he's won what 3 or 4 MVPs. So I mean, maybe it wasn't in the long term good on his body, but whatever he was doing, you got to understand. Part of training isn't just for it's the mental toughness part too, to say that you've
Yeah.
done it. And I'm doing this. No one else is doing this. This is going to make me better than everybody else, whether it does or not. As long as
Yeah.
I believe that, it's doing its job, right?
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I think there's a lot of different avenues and aspects to go about training, and what people do for you got to understand, man. The great Yogi Berra said it best. He said, the 50% of this game is physical, the other 95 is mental. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Exactly.
50% is physical, the other 95 is mental. And whatever we got to do to get that mental edge, man, that's what it is.
I don't know how you are supposed to do this. I'm coaching, Greg. I'm doing a little baseball coaching. It ain't T-ball no more. It's real baseball. So you got to teach the kids also to be mentally tough. You don't want to turn them into, I guess, how we probably were raised to be, like, the bad news bear. Who was it? The Yankees back in the day, they would force the kids into the winning. The bad news bears, the Yankees, the enemy team, the crazy coach whipping the kids
Well,
into shape. You can't do that anymore.
Well,
How are you
just
supposed
don't
to
give him a
teach them
trophy.
something?
Just don't give him a trophy for not winning the game. All right, don't give him a participation trophy. I think that's the ultimate killer. I mean, if you want a trophy, play better, and you
Yeah.
know what? And that's the same thing in life. If the thing, outwork, out grind, and whatever it is that you do, you don't have to be an athlete, but whatever it is you want, you got to go to work for it. You can't just when we didn't put our chair on the desk, and we didn't, that was 500 sentences. I will put my chair on the desk. When there was no talking, it was, you know, 1,000 times I will not talk in class, and you had to write it and write it. And your parents didn't come to the school and say the teacher's a hole. They said don't do it again, and you had to answer to that wrath when you got home, right? And nowadays we give them a pass on everything, man. They get a pass on everything. You
They
know,
can't even write a script. You mentioned, you know how much better it got your penmanship when you had to write something 1,000 times over again? You don't get that kind of training now unless it just doesn't happen. I see the homework that my kids get now. They're in first grade and they're like, oh, let's chat GPT it. What kind of answer is that? How do you even know what chat GPT is? You're in first grade.
what happens when you have to take a test?
They'll probably chat GPT under the table. I guess like back in the day, they'd write the answers on the water bottle. I don't know how it works now, Greg, but we're going to go to a quick break. We're going to teach every listener what mental toughness is because we're going to put you Knicks fans through trial in this next segment. We're going over NBA playoff matchups. We just saw the Hornets get eliminated in a sad fashion. If you've been watching the NBA, I've been a low-key, secret, closeted Hornets fan this year. So we'll get into that. And of course, my Clippers getting knocked out in a disgraceful manner. We're still sticking with Ty Lue. That's my guy. We got a lot to talk about. What's going on? Greg Vaughn, Ryan Verneuille in studio, and we shall return. You're tuned into Fox Sports Rochester, and this is what's going on with Nate Brown Jr., Ryan Verneuille, and of course, the great Greg Vaughn. And today's show is brought to you by our friends at New Solutions Network. Are you feeling down and out? Well, go to newsolutionsnetwork.com. Why? Because it'll help you with whatever you're struggling with. They tell great stories, they help you with your mental, physical health, and of course, your overall well being. So, it's finally that time, and a lot of basketball fans are going to get some help with their well-being because for the first time all year, teams are going to be playing defense. The NBA playoffs is beginning, and we've got great matchups to get things started. I'm very excited to see the new Hawks without Trae Young and the Knicks because there could be a whole new reason for Knicks fans to hate the Hawks. The Iceman's gone. But I've got a feeling that the Knicks, they might have a little bit of their work cut out for them. I like this new Hawks team. Greg, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, with Kamara, and you know what I mean, Kalinga,
Yep.
they can do it, man. I don't know if their center's coming back yet. I know he's out. If the center comes back, which is a big piece, I think the Hawks got a solid chance. They're up and coming. I think we can't get too hard to circle back on the Hornets. The Hornets had a great season, man. If you would have predicted this in the beginning of the year, I think every fan in Charlotte would have took it. Every basketball fan, head of schedule, right?
Yeah.
They head of schedule. And now, they learned how to win, and now you have to learn how to, hey, this offseason, is not going to be about your boy racing cars, and you're going to see, who's going to be the leader of that team, because you're going to see if
Yeah.
he's going to go out and put in the work, get stronger, and lead offseason workouts and do the things that they do what championship teams do, and hopefully Ball do that, and the young kid from Wisconsin. I mean from Duke. Well, from Wisconsin, but went to Duke, who won the 3-point shooting thing champion this year. I think Canuckle. I think he's. I mean, he got a taste of it. I think just the makeup of Midwest people. He's going to come back and get in the gym and come back better. He did. It wasn't the type of inning he wanted to have in the last two playing games. I just think the Hornets are ahead of pace. The Knicks are going to have their work cut out for him. I think the Knicks, your boy Cat's going to have to play his butt off. And,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
going to have, and you're going to have to, get answers from other people. But the thing I like about it though, the Alvarado kid though, man, he brings that it factor. He brings that attitude, that it factor. So even when things are tough, he can shake it up, and he's going to be a
Yeah.
pest. He's gonna do what he can do, and don't sleep on him offensively too. He's not scared of the moment.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's some guys over there. Obviously, the Knicks are favored to win, but there's guys there that can still have an amazing night. I mean, CJ McCollum at any point could just drop 25 on you. So I think
Yeah,
that
but
it's
the Johnson kid is a beast. Another
Jalen
quiet.
Johnson is nice.
It's. I mean, he
He
top
does
10
it all.
player already right now. Top 10
Already
player right now.
24 years
Yeah,
old, still on the
top 10
rise.
player.
That's why they're so quick to give up on Trae Young. Like, they've got Jalen Johnson that can just do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it proves you have to have a Draymond Green and the rest of the supporting cast to play that style of basketball, right?
Yeah,
You Trey Young wasn't. I mean, scoring 40 and giving up 42 was not the answer. You got
exactly.
to be able to play some defense, and they're athletic, they're long, they're they can run, and they got yeah. I just think they're in a good spot, man, and they're ahead of schedule.
I do
You,
feel
you know
like this is Jalen Johnson's chance to have his Trae Young moment at the Garden. Because if you
well,
look, I mean, who's better? Look, I'm sure right now at this point in time, at least offensively, Brunson's a better player. I guess you have to say Cat is a more valuable player, but by the end of the series, if Jalen Johnson can show the whole world, because everyone's going to be watching the series, what he's made of, those conversations might arise. He might pull an Iceman on these boys. I would not be surprised.
when you say better player, I give me Johnson, because all around he's better than all of them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because he ball handling, rebounding, blocking shots, wing defender, all scoring, unselfishness, plays hard. I mean, when you want to pick a team, that's who I'm picking. I mean, I'm taking him because he can do it
Oh,
all.
wow. So that's kind of a hot take. So you're taking the Hawks over the Knicks in this opening series.
No. I said I'm taking Johnson. I didn't say the Hawks.
Okay, okay. As a
If I
player,
had to start a team, because
yes,
you were saying
yes.
Cat's a better player and Brunson's a better scorer, Cat's a better all around. Johnson's a better player.
Yeah, yeah, for
If
sure. And
you
like you said, passing, everything. The guy's overall a
defense,
better player.
yeah.
Yeah,
So like I said, and Kaminga. I mean, this is his moment to show that you know that he could have been on the court with Steph and Draymond and the rest of them. You know what I mean? They're, they got good pieces, man. It should be a good series. Like I said, if the center is able to come back from that sprained ankle, he might still be out. They got a chance, man.
I think he's going to be back for the series opener. I think he's going to be back.
I
We
don't
will find,
I
is
don't
that
know if
am
he
I
is. If he
reporting
is,
bad news here? Well, we'll find
no,
out very very
I
soon.
hope you are, because if you are, the Knicks better pack a lunch.
I think I agree with you, Greg. That is definitely going to be interesting. Okay, so other series that we have, and by the way, this is airing for most listeners a little bit in advance. So unfortunately, we might be a day late, dollar short, but we're still going to give you our prediction, so we can still say "I told you so" next week. We also have, for I guess as we're recording this, we have Raptors versus Cavaliers. And those are two teams that I think are both a threat still. The Cavaliers, now we have the Beard finally here to prove that he's not a playoff bust. How scary are the Cavs right now? Or what's your level of faith in James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, and the boys?
My faith in Mobley and Mitchell are all time high. You know what I mean? We'll see what Harden can do. Once again, he doesn't have to be the man. Just
True.
be, play for the name on the front. You know what I mean? If he plays for the name on the front and you know, take some of that scoring pressure off of Mobley and Mitchell, I think the Cavs will be fine. But right now, hey, Toronto's playing with house money. They're ahead of schedule right now. You know, and they know where they finished last year. For Toronto to be where they're at, they're playing with house money, and that's what makes it dangerous, man. They have nothing to lose. Cavaliers have everything to lose.
Yes.
Toronto has nothing to lose. Just
Just
like the
prove it.
Hawks. The Hawks have nothing to lose. When you're playing with house money, man, and it could be motivating too, because as a player, hey, no one thinks we can do it. We're gonna ride that wave. The emotion is dangerous, man, good and bad.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of all the matchups that we have, we've got Timberwolves, Nuggets. We've got Rockets, Lakers, which I think is going to be a fun series. We've got Suns, Thunder. The Trailblazers are taking on the Spurs. And of course, the Magic and Pistons, the 76ers and Celtics. Are there any series that you see being a true upset that we won't expect?
Not really. No, I think Portland's done what they could do. They had a good season, especially with the controversy, with the head coach right before the
Yeah.
year, and to be there. And like I said, the West is tough, man. I don't know. I think we're in times for some good basketball, and same thing with hockey. We're in some it's hockey playoff hockey here in Vegas tomorrow. The
Oh,
Knights are
yeah.
going, against the Mammoth. So it's a good time to be a sports fan now. You got baseball all over so I mean, you just plug and play. All we got to do is only thing missing is football right now. We're getting ready for the draft. So I think I think Orlando is a good team. I think Orlando did play up to their capabilities. I think last year they played better. I think they have to get more out of Blanchero. He has to be the man, and the Twins have to
Yeah.
go out there, and the Twins have to play like the Twins of old. But they're coming back off, ACL surgeries and this and that. But I'm telling you, they play defense, man, and it's Orlando's dangerous. I don't think Phoenix. I mean, they've got Oklahoma City, but you got your boy. I mean, Green is on fire right now, and Green, him and why is it slipping my tongue? Him and their best player,
On Booker?
but yeah, him and Devin Booker. Yeah, I mean that's walking buckets, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I still don't think as good an offense as they're going to have those. I don't think it's going to stop this machine. That is the
No,
Thunder.
that
So
no, 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 but it'll make
could
it interesting, no?
it
It'll
will. I
make
mean,
it
they have a whole
interesting.
series to make it interesting. So to kind of wrap things up, we've been given our predictions all year. I think we all kind of came to the agreement that it's either going to be the Spurs, the Pistons, or the Thunder that win. Are there any changes since we've had this last conversation? Or do you still think it's going to be one of those three teams that takes on the NBA championship?
I think it's gonna be one of those 3 teams. You know what's an intriguing team is, the Celtics. The Celtics are gonna the Celtics are gonna be the Celtics. This is their time of year, right? And, dude, I mean, my favorite player, and I don't wanna say this because I have lots of favorite players,
Yeah.
but but Tyrese Maxey, man, a kid that plays so hard and always smiling and, just you can tell loves the game. Dude, the Sixers to me are a little dangerous, and you don't know whatever can happen without Embiid. They played so much without him; they're still dangerous.
And to have a guy, a Hall of Famer like Joel Embiid, I imagine he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I think
Well,
they're
you
going to
got.
be
I
just
think. I
fine.
think he has to get some more games under his belt. He has to
Yeah.
post some more games. You know what I mean?
At
And the
least
poor
Hall of
kid,
Fame
like I said.
talent in his prime. Like, I mean, was there a better
Oh yeah,
center than Embiid in his prime years? I mean, he was right up there. But Greg,
yeah.
it's been a
No, you're right. You're right. But Appanuck to me, you know what I mean? He what he just had. It's he just gets hit. You go back to Trout. Just can't post. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
when he is in there, then he has to get into shape, and then it looks like to me it bogs the team down. Right now they're playing fast. Let them
Yeah,
keep playing fast.
that's very
Let
true.
them let them
Yeah.
keep playing fast. I mean, what you want to slow him and the other guard down and Paul George and those guys? Keep playing fast.
Yeah. I mean, George is looking pretty nice. Finally looking like they made maybe a good move. We'll see how far they go. We shall see. Do you think there will be upsets? Well, let us know online. What's going on sports? Greg Vaughn 23 at the Ryan Show. Find us online, and we'll be back next week. Greg, any final departing words for our listeners out there in Rochester today?
Hey man, just let's pray for our troops over there. Try to keep them safe and hopefully put an end to this war and get this economic debacle that we're in back to manageable, so people can a hard day's because right now a hard day's work doesn't amount to much when you go to the grocery store, right? So I just think we got to do something, man, and get rid of. No matter how much they try to make you angry and keep you confused, hey, it doesn't cost anything to treat anybody nice, man.
As our friend Mr. Cheeks would say, love, peace, and happiness. Take care, folks. Stay positive. Peace out. See you next week.
Peace. Next week. Next week.